The ocean floor is hiding something terrifying, and scientists just found proof that changes everything we thought we knew about what lives down there. What they pulled up from the darkness wasn't supposed to exist. In 2023, a research vessel operating off the coast of Australia dropped cameras 7 kilometers below the surface. When they reviewed the footage, one scientist reportedly left the room. The creature staring back at them had features that defied explanation. A body plan that shouldn't work, existing at pressures that should crush anything living into paste. But there it was, moving with purpose through water so cold it would kill a human in minutes. This discovery is just one entry in a growing list of deep-sea findings that read more like horror fiction than scientific journals. The abyss has been keeping secrets, and we're only now developing technology capable of exposing them. Let me take you down there. Most people think of the deep ocean as empty, a void. Turns out that's exactly what makes it so dangerous. Not the emptiness, but what fills it. At depths below 1,000 meters, sunlight becomes a memory. Photosynthesis is impossible. The food chain operates on entirely different rules, and evolution has had millions of years to experiment without our observation. The pressure alone rewrites biology. At 4,000 meters deep, the weight of the water above you equals roughly 400 times normal atmospheric pressure. Your bones would crack, your lungs would collapse inward, cell walls would rupture. Yet creatures thrive there, built from biochemistry we're still trying to understand. In 2021, researchers mapping the Clarion-Clipperton zone discovered something that shouldn't exist according to known metabolic processes. Fields of metallic nodules covering thousands of square kilometers of seafloor were generating oxygen in complete darkness. No photosynthesis, no obvious energy source, just rocks producing breathable oxygen through mechanisms that have geochemists rewriting textbooks. But that's not the disturbing part. Surrounding these oxygen-producing nodules were organisms unlike anything in existing taxonomic classifications. When samples reached the surface, 3 specimens died immediately. 2 others survived for 14 hours in specially pressurized tanks before their cellular structure began breaking down. The footage captured before their death shows movement patterns that suggest intelligence, coordinated behavior, problem-solving, possibly even communication. The scientific papers describe them as unclassified deep-sea organisms. The researchers who handled them used different words in private. Now, you might be wondering why this matters. We find new species constantly, right? Thousands every year. What makes these different? It comes down to what they reveal about the scale of our ignorance. Current estimates suggest we've explored less than 5% of the ocean floor. 5%, which means 95% remains completely unknown, unmapped, unobserved. Consider what we've found in that tiny explored fraction. Hydrothermal vents hosting ecosystems based on chemosynthesis rather than photosynthesis. Methane seeps creating oases of life in abyssal plains. Brine pools, underwater lakes of liquid more than 5 times saltier than seawater, that kill anything swimming into them. Entire mountain ranges taller than the Himalayas that we only discovered existed in the 1950s. Then there's the sound problem. In 1997, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration recorded something from the Pacific Ocean that they labeled the bloop, an ultra-low-frequency sound, powerful enough to be detected on sensors over 5,000 kilometers apart. The frequency pattern matched biological origins. Specifically, it matched the signature of a living creature making noise. Here's the issue. The sound was far louder than any known animal could produce. Blue whales, the loudest creatures ever confirmed, generate sounds reaching 188 decibels. The bloop registered significantly higher. NOAA officially attributes it to ice quakes, massive icebergs cracking and breaking. But several marine biologists have pointed out inconsistencies with this explanation. Ice breaking produces sharp, sudden acoustic signatures. The bloop showed patterns of modulation consistent with biological sound production. The debate continues. Whether it was ice or something else, it highlights a crucial reality. We're monitoring an environment we fundamentally don't understand, detecting things we can't explain, and occasionally capturing evidence of phenomena that challenge basic assumptions about biology. Case in point, the Mariana Trench discoveries of 2019. At 10,927 meters below sea level, in the deepest surveyed point on Earth, cameras captured amphipods, small crustaceans, feeding on material that fell from the surface. Nothing shocking there. Amphipods are common scavengers. What made researchers pause was what happened when they deployed bait. Within hours, thousands of these creatures swarmed the food source, not dozens, thousands, appearing from seemingly nowhere in an environment we assumed was relatively barren. The feeding frenzy lasted 17 hours, captured on time-lapse footage that looks like something from a nightmare. The sheer biomass present at that depth contradicted every model of deep ocean population density. Then the larger things arrived. The footage shows something moving at the edge of the camera's light range, something considerably bigger than the amphipods. The research team attempted to get clearer images, but whatever it was, stayed just beyond the illumination range, as if deliberately avoiding direct observation. This behavior, light avoidance, is common in deep-sea creatures. But the size estimates based on movement patterns and brief partial captures suggest something massive. The team hasn't published detailed findings yet. What they have released is concerning enough. But here's what keeps deep-sea researchers awake at night, and why these discoveries matter more than you might think. Every time we develop better technology and push deeper, we find things that shouldn't be there according to our models. Which raises an uncomfortable question. What else is down there that our current technology still can't detect? The truly frightening discoveries aren't always the creatures themselves. Sometimes it's what they tell us about the environment that produced them. Take the 2021 expedition that discovered something in the Philippine Trench. At depths exceeding 10,000 meters, cameras recorded a species of snailfish that challenged fundamental assumptions about vertebrate biology. These creatures survive pressure that would crush a car into a tin can. Their bodies contain no air spaces whatsoever. Having any would mean instant death. Their bones aren't calcified like ours. They're partially gelatinous, flexible enough to withstand compression that reaches 16,000 pounds per square inch. But the disturbing part wasn't their anatomy. It was their abundance. The expedition expected to find maybe a handful of specimens if they were lucky. Instead, they documented thriving populations. Schools of these fish, hunting, breeding, establishing territories in conditions we considered incompatible with complex life. Each discovery like this forces a recalibration of what we thought was possible. Here's where it gets genuinely unsettling. In 2018, researchers analyzing sediment cores from the Mariana Trench found something unexpected in samples taken from depths of 11 kilometers. Microorganisms? Sure, we knew those existed down there. But these particular microbes showed genetic markers indicating they'd been isolated from surface life for potentially millions of years. They'd evolved independently in the deep ocean, developing biochemical processes unlike anything in known biology. Some exhibited metabolism based on compounds that are toxic to virtually every other form of life on Earth. They weren't just surviving in extreme conditions. They'd adapted so completely that normal Earth environments would kill them. This discovery opened an uncomfortable possibility. If life can evolve in complete isolation in Earth's deep ocean, developing entirely alien biochemistry, what does that mean for our assumptions about life detection? We're searching for biosignatures in space based on Earth life. But we've now confirmed that Earth itself harbors life forms whose chemistry differs radically from the textbook definitions we're using. We might not recognize alien life if we found it. Hell, we barely recognize this life, and it's on our own planet. The vastness creates another problem. Temporal gaps in observation. The ocean floor changes, volcanic vents appear and disappear. Underwater landslides reshape entire regions. Species migrate across distances we can't easily track. In 2015, researchers returned to a hydrothermal vent field they'd studied extensively in 2004. 11 years, not a long time scientifically. The entire ecosystem had transformed. Species present in 2004 had vanished. New species had established themselves. The vent system itself had shifted position by several hundred meters. What happened in those 11 years? No one knows. No one was watching. That's the reality of ocean research. We get snapshots separated by years or decades, then try to construct continuous narratives from discontinuous data. It's like watching a movie where 95% of the frames are missing. Consider the implications. If ecosystems can completely reorganize in a decade, how much are we missing in the centuries between major expeditions to specific sites? How many species emerge and go extinct without us ever knowing they existed? The fossil record on land is already fragmentary. In the ocean, it's nearly non-existent for soft-bodied creatures. Everything we know comes from what we can observe right now, and we can observe almost nothing. Then there's the sound channel. The ocean conducts sound far more efficiently than air. Low-frequency sounds can travel across entire ocean basins. Whales use this to communicate across thousands of kilometers. But we've also detected sounds that don't match any known source. The Julia sound, recorded in 1999, lasted 15 seconds and was picked up by sensors across the Pacific. The frequency characteristics suggested something biological, something large. NOAA attributed it to ice movement near Antarctica, but the same arguments from the bloop apply. The pattern doesn't quite fit purely geological explanations. Whether these sounds are from unknown creatures or unusual geological processes we don't understand, both options are unsettling. Either there are massive animals we've never documented, or the ocean produces acoustic phenomena we can't explain. Neither conclusion is comforting. The deepest manned dive ever conducted reached 10,908 meters in 2019. Director James Cameron had previously gone to 10,898 meters in 2012. Both expeditions lasted hours, covered minimal area, and represented humanity's absolute limit for direct deep ocean observation. Both divers reported the same thing, the feeling of presence. Not loneliness, the opposite. The sense that they weren't alone, that something was watching from beyond the range of their lights. Psychological response to extreme environment? Probably, but multiple divers across different expeditions reporting identical sensations raises questions about what produces that response. Is it purely psychological? Or are humans detecting something at the edge of perception? Pressure changes, low-frequency sounds, subtle water movements that our conscious minds interpret as presence. Submersible-mounted cameras have captured footage of creatures approaching the craft, circling it, then disappearing back into darkness in ways that suggest curiosity, intelligent assessment of a novel object, behavior implying complex cognition in creatures we've never classified. In 2022, footage from a deep-sea expedition showed something moving in coordinated patterns at the edge of camera range. Multiple somethings, moving in formation. The research team hasn't released the full footage publicly. What they have released shows movement patterns unlike any known marine life. Deliberate, organized, then gone. What's doing this? Are these known species exhibiting unexpected behavior? Or are we glimpsing something we haven't identified yet? The ocean keeps its secrets not through active concealment, but through sheer inaccessibility. We're locked out by pressure, darkness, and distance. Every expedition costs millions. Every dive risks equipment worth more than most houses. And what do we get? Brief glimpses into an environment covering 71% of our planet that operates according to rules we're only beginning to grasp. The real terror isn't any single creature. It's the certainty that we've barely scratched the surface of what's actually down there. Consider what happens when something goes wrong down there. Equipment failure, hull breach, loss of communication. On land, we have rescue protocols. Teams can mobilize. Helicopters can reach remote locations within hours. In the deep ocean, rescue is functionally impossible. If something catastrophic happens at depth, there's no backup plan. The Titan submersible disaster in 2023 demonstrated this reality with brutal clarity. 5 people descended to view the Titanic wreck. Communication stopped. Search teams found debris days later. The implosion happened so fast the passengers likely never knew. But here's what haunts the salvage reports. Before the implosion, there were anomalies. Banging sounds detected by sonar. Unusual readings. Objects on sensors that shouldn't have been there. Were these equipment malfunctions? Water pressure creating false positives? Or was something else present at that depth, drawn to the unusual vibrations and lights? We'll never know. The ocean doesn't leave witnesses, but it raises uncomfortable questions about what else might be observing our intrusions into these spaces. Military submarines have been reporting similar anomalies for decades, objects moving at speeds that shouldn't be possible underwater. Tracking systems showing contacts that vanish without explanation. These aren't conspiracy theories. These are documented incidents in classified naval reports that occasionally surface through declassification or leaks. The Navy calls them fast movers, sonar contacts that accelerate beyond anything we can build, that change direction instantly without slowing, that disappear from tracking systems by diving deeper than our sensors can follow. Standard explanation: equipment malfunction, atmospheric phenomena, foreign technology. But some of these contacts have been tracked by multiple systems simultaneously. Visual confirmation by crews. Recorded on instruments designed specifically to distinguish between false positives and genuine objects. What's down there moving like that? Advanced submarines from other nations? Possibly. But the depth and speed characteristics of some contacts exceed known human engineering capabilities by significant margins, which leaves two options. Either multiple countries have developed propulsion technology far beyond publicly acknowledged science, or something else is moving through the deep ocean that we haven't identified. Both possibilities are disturbing. Then there's the biological aspect we haven't discussed. Giant squid were considered mythological until 2004, when the first photographs of a living specimen were captured. Prior to that, every scientist insisted they existed based on dead specimens washing ashore, but no living giant squid had ever been documented in its natural habitat. We had bodies, we had evidence, but we'd never seen one alive. Now consider, what else might be down there that we only know from partial remains? Carcasses occasionally wash ashore that don't match any cataloged species. Globsters, unidentified organic masses that decompose before proper analysis. Some get identified eventually, others remain mysteries. In 2018, a carcass washed up in the Philippines measuring over 4 meters long, covered in hair-like fibers, with anatomy that didn't match any known marine mammal. Initial theories suggested whale, but the tissue structure was wrong. The DNA analysis came back inconclusive. Contaminated sample. By the time researchers arrived to collect better specimens, the carcass had been buried by locals who considered it a bad omen. Whatever it was, we'll never know. The ocean gave us a glimpse, then took it back. This happens more frequently than people realize. Carcasses appear, get photographed by locals, decompose before scientists arrive. The ocean is constantly pushing evidence onto our shores, but we're not fast enough to catch it. What percentage of unknown species do we miss because the evidence rots before we can analyze it? How many creatures live and die in the deep without ever surfacing? The life cycle of deep ocean creatures remains largely unknown. We don't know how long they live. We don't know their reproduction cycles. We've never observed most species mating, giving birth, or raising young. Everything we know comes from dead specimens or brief video footage. Imagine trying to understand human civilization by occasionally seeing people through a window for 30 seconds at a time, then extrapolating everything about society, culture, and behavior from those glimpses. That's our current understanding of deep ocean ecosystems. We see fragments, we make educated guesses, but we're fundamentally ignorant about how these systems actually function. And here's what should keep you awake. These ecosystems are changing. Ocean temperatures are rising. Chemical composition is shifting. Currents are altering their patterns. We're conducting a massive, uncontrolled experiment on environments we don't understand, affecting creatures we've never documented. What happens when deep ocean species are forced to adapt to rapid environmental changes? Do they migrate to different depths? Do populations collapse? Or do they move into shallower waters, bringing deep ocean life into contact with surface ecosystems in ways that have never happened before? We don't know. We won't know until it happens. And when it does happen, we'll be reacting to changes we can't predict in systems we barely comprehend. The ocean isn't just hiding things from us. It's operating on scales and timelines completely divorced from human perception. Events that take centuries, migrations across thousands of kilometers, creatures that live their entire lives in complete darkness, navigating by senses we don't possess. We built our entire understanding of biology based on surface life. Light-dependent, oxygen-rich, temperature-regulated. Then we discovered the deep ocean operates under completely different rules, and we're still struggling to update our models accordingly. So when you look at the ocean, understand what you're actually seeing. You're seeing the surface of something vast, ancient, and fundamentally alien to human experience. You're seeing the thin barrier between our world and something we're not equipped to understand. And beneath that surface, in the crushing darkness, things are moving, living, hunting, existing in ways we can't imagine. The ocean doesn't care if we understand it. It never has. The scariest part isn't what we've found. It's knowing that we've barely started looking. Every expedition reveals how little we actually know, how vast the unknown truly is. The deep ocean isn't hiding monsters from horror movies. It's hiding an entire dimension of life that evolved without our knowledge, thriving in conditions we considered impossible. And we're just now developing the tools to see it. What comes next? We can't even begin to guess.